Hey, what's up, guys? Josiah here with EasyCaters.com. Today, I'm just going to do a quick review of the day trades from today and a couple of swings that popped up. I wanted to mention the market as well, and so let me just go ahead and look at the swings first of all, as well as the markets. Um, so if you look here on the SPY and the Qs, and I'll zoom in here, you can see we had a range day today with a inside volume signal. And so this is a kind of a pretty pullback um, on on the daily chart here. We're coming back to a volume signal here. And I know we're at these all-time highs. We're basically trying to prove whether or not we can hold this as a support since we've broken above it. So there's much to be questioned here. We are extended upward and so forth, but it is doing a pullback and it is giving a volume signal. So if you swing those, then that is a signal that you might want to take a look at. Here's an example of that on the Qs as well. Nice doji inside a yesterday's um, wide range bar with down bar. And so we had that volume signal today right at this prior volume level, right at these prior all-time high pivot area. You can see on the weekly chart there's a nice volume signal at this level as well as we broke out above that level. So anyway, so this is an important level. We're coming back down. We're testing it. Some support is coming in here, it looks like, according to this volume signal. So that doesn't mean it will hold, but it is looking like it's trying to. So trade that as according to your plan. It might be a place that you could scoop up a few shares at a few days down off of the highs here. So it's a pullback, better risk to reward ratio, and we've got the uptrend in our favor. So that's how I would look at that. A couple of swings, MU incidentally put in a similar signal here. Now this is not nearly as pretty, but we had a signal here, days and days back here that worked really well. We're coming back down to that same area and testing it. We put in a volume signal there showing that there is some support. Somebody's trying to buy some more here. And that doesn't mean it will turn around and go back up at this point, but it means that somebody is buying from what I'm reading here. Now you can see there was a prior volume signal at this pivot, led to this drive. Volume signal here led to this drive. Volume signal here. Now, I mean, the trend's getting a little weaker and so forth, so this is probably not as high probability, but it's telling you what it's telling you. So that's what I'm seeing there on MU. And DVN had a similar signal. This is a pretty little pullback here. Volume signal started to come in the last few days. There's another one that happened on this day here. And let me zoom in here so we can see a little better. So we're down here at this level in here where there's prior volume signals. We got a few volume signals in the last several days here, and we're just kind of ranging inside that. And then today we broke out above this high, broke out over this high as well, it looks like. And we had this little inside doji yesterday that we broke above. So this kind of triggered a lot of people in today. And I was looking for a day trade on this as a pullback, which did not materialize. But so we'll have to see what happens in the next few days. But this one is in an ideal location for a pullback trade, and it is giving a volume signal showing that some people have showed up to buy it. And again, you just kind of got to see if those people are enough to hold it. And if you agree with their thesis, go ahead and buy in with them. IP, another pullback with a volume signal here. This one is not trending as well. You can see that on a longer time frame, so you can see the quarterly up here, we had volume down at this level. Um, Volume supported it down here at this pivot on the monthly. We had a volume signal come in here that worked initially. It looks like it got to 1 times your risk and then it failed. And now we've come back down to this area here. Volume signaling came in. We flushed below that and we just barely nicked this breakout area of this prior pivot that did hold. And then that immediately got absorbed. And so we were kind of basing in here. We had another volume signal there. So IP now, so that was on the monthly. Um, so we have inside this monthly is this weekly range that is formed. And we've got volume up at the top, the highs here, and some volume a little bit down at the lows here. And so what I would look for is if we can, definitely if we can break above this weekly level, then that can turn into something more like that monster trade that we talked about several days ago. Monster did a similar basing pattern, had volume at the highs, broke above that strongly, and did a nice swing trade. So this might be saying we're preparing to do something similar. On the daily chart here, you can see we've pulled back off the highs of that weekly volume signal there. We might be getting some more demand in here saying, hey, we're going to go test those highs. So that's what I would look for on that. It looks like a pullback. It's not trending yet, but that might be an early entry. EA, notice this one because of yesterday's volume signal. Today we gapped way up and then traded all the way back down to that entry candle. And so I don't know if that was a lot of profit taking or what was going on, but it looks like at earnings they had this churn bar gapped up, and we're traded back down into this area. So this could be an opportunity to grab a few more shares with an expectation of it running back in the other direction again. But this gap up and retracement here is a little bit iffy, but I don't like how noisy this chart is. There's a lot of whippiness and crazy, gaps and wide range bars and so forth. It's not very well controlled or disciplined, but this could be, this is essentially signaling that somebody is supporting this level around this 92. And so if you agree with that thesis, you can see some volume here on the weekly a long time ago, volume here, volume coming back in here. So this could be an opportunity if you want to trade that one. ADM. So this one, it's interesting because we had this monthly, and it you can see the range here on the weekly. We had volume down at the bottom. There's a level here that we kind of tested there. We retested it here. So this is essentially what's going on is we tested the low of the range here, immediately got rejected and went in the opposite direction. We triggered above this range high, and now we're retracing back down into that breakout area where there was some prior volume. And so yesterday had a volume signal. Today where we triggered that and then we failed that. But this is still an area, and we're going to have to see if this, if you want to accumulate a little bit here, this might be a place to do it. We are in, well, actually, this is not the best of a trend. It is a longer term trend. It's more of a range right now on the daily and weekly. But anyway, so this one has pulled back off of these highs up here. So this is a little bit more ideal area to grab some and see about a potential move in the opposite direction. So keep that one in mind. Something's shaping up on that. It's in a little bit more ideal location right here with this pullback volume signaling some support here, and so a move back in the other direction can be a good trigger to take you into this. All right, so that is some swings. On the day trade, so there's a few different contexts that I trade on a intraday basis. And so a lot of these I look for opening churn, opening range churn, and so you can see on MRK we had opening range churn on multiple time frames here that I always like to see, and we had this wide range candle, and then we shaped up, the chart really shaped up, got an inside doji-ish indecision candle on this 30-minute. And you can see on the lower time frames, there would have been several ways to play this. But the cleanest is really this 30-minute. And, possibly on this 15, you have the opening two 15-minute candles. So that would be the opening 30 minutes. And then we had a 15 inside that initial range, which gave a nice risk to reward back up to the highs and on further for the rest of the day. So that red candle, I always like to buy on the break over a red candle because that can sometimes indicate there's some more stops to be hit there. And so you can see that one worked really well. Disney. So this one had a little bit of opening range churn on the lower time frames here. It wasn't that interesting on the higher time frames. But so because of this indecision, opening range churn, I had my eye on this one today. Nice little pullback here on the 10, and then a few little volume signals here and there. The volume coming back in as we came back down to test the high of this range and test this volume signal here, and that one worked twice there up into the close before this sell-off at the close of day. DVN. This one was the one I was looking for a pullback on, and I got triggered into this one and stopped out. You can see here on the 20-minute and 30-minute and so forth, we had a nice pullback going on, and my thesis was long because of this daily and because we were triggering all that today on a strong move off the open. So I was looking for a pullback on this, and volume signals came in, and then we just kind of ranged for the rest of the afternoon. So just, I'm still, my thesis on this one is still long, but could be totally wrong. And in either case, it didn't work for today. So that's how that one shaped up. SWKS. So this one had a volume churn signal on the open, multiple time frames, and then kind of cleaned up a little bit. It didn't give a nice higher time frame signal here to get long, but there were several on the lower time frames here, you can see. So the 10-minute had a nice little pullback, and a second one here that retested the breakout of that pullback, that initial pullback. So two of those worked. You can see a nice little drop back to the moving average here, kind of near these highs of this opening range. And that one worked for a little 2-hour trade there on the smaller time frame, and continued drifting up slightly for the rest of the day. JPG. Opening range churn. This was a beautiful setup that I missed. And sometimes I'm just not fast enough for these early morning trades. But this one put in a nice 15 high churn candle at the open with a nice bottoming tail, totally rejecting those lows, and triggered immediately and just ran. So that was a beautiful one. Sorry, I'm just sorry I missed it. And VMC, another high churn, opening range. This one was kind of sloppy, but you can see on the 10 there was a nice kind of ping pong look that I talk about sometimes. It's just back and forth kind of, where we got the volume signal here, go up, get some resistance, come back down and test the same volume level from before, and that one worked really well. We had a pullback here that triggered and then failed, and so then we had just kind of slop for the rest of the day, and so that was that one. So there was at least one good trade there. Two good trades, but one of them didn't work really. So JCI, so this one had high churn again, and you can see this indecision candle on the open, multiple time frames, cleaned up on the 15 here. It gave a better risk to reward. The 10 down here gave the best, and I always like to see this. You have these inside, the wide range on the open, inside candles happening, and so we have high churn at the open, and then it tapers off a bit, and then it picks back up, giving you the signal to go long. And those are the kind that I really love. So you see these pretty often, those kind of signals you'll get where we pull back off the highs and give a better risk reward, and the churn steps in right there as it's time to take off. ACHC, I don't remember this one. So we had high churn. Yeah, so this one was kind of not the type of chart that I usually trade because of it's kind of spready here. You can see there's some gaps intraday. I like super liquid stocks, and this one was one that I noticed that had a signal, but just is not the type that I like to trade as much. There was a nice entry here on the 15 that could have been taken, but it didn't really give the best type of setup. But you could have taken it right here for 2 Rs, and you can see a break out over the initial 15-minute bar, stop under the low of the second 15-minute bar, and that one could have worked. Not the best type of setup, but it worked for 2 Rs. And then we have HST, nice high churn on the open, indecision candle, topping tail on these 15 and 20 time frames. The 10 here had churn after the open. But you can see this little base that formed here, and then we just kind of fell off a cliff as we broke that. And that gave a nice risk to reward for a short. I don't trade on the short side currently, but that one would have been good for a short. I like shorting under green candles like this and buying over red candles like that initial, let's see, what was it, SWKS, trying to remember which one it was. They all run together after a while, but anyway, it was that bottoming tail, so it was a long break over the bottoming tail candle at the 15-minute open. But anyway, so that's what I saw today, and hopefully that helps. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment. Shoot me an email on the website, easycaters.com. Please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't already, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks, guys.